Life sometimes throws us some curveballs and some difficult challenges, but I think most of us would agree that likely the most difficult would be losing one of our own children. Today's guest is going to share her heart-wrenching story of losing not one child, but both of her children in two separate tragic accidents, and how God helped her make it through. Brigitte Kloosterman is the author of Goodbyes Are Always Hard. She joins me now via Skype from Smithers, British Columbia. Welcome to Bridge City News, Brigitte. It's so great to have you on today.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Now, Brigitte, you have an unusually tragic story. We appreciate you having the courage to share it with us. Can you briefly share a bit about your son, Eric, and what happened on that fateful day?
Yeah, Eric was a very lively boy, very energetic and athletic. And on that fateful day, he was working in an organic bakery. The owner of the bakery had lost a son, and Eric was he was kind of like an uncle to Eric, and Eric just loved it there. And on that day, another boy was visiting to learn a little bit about the baking, and they had gone on a bike ride, unbeknown to the owner, to the uh, boss, to the baker, and they were racing. The bike, probably they were going to get a treat or something from the store, and they were racing, and they raced through a stop sign, and a truck was coming and didn't see my son, but saw the first boy, and he veered out, and they collided. Like he veered out to miss the first boy and hit Eric. Yeah, they collided, and someone told me was at the accident site very shortly after the accident and said that Eric was unconscious pretty much right away.
Okay, how old was Eric when this happened?
13,
13 years old. And how long ago was this? What year did this happen in?
1995.
Oh, gosh. That is horrible. So, how did you first react to the news of your son's accident?
Well, actually, a police lady called me at work. I was working at the public health unit in Dawson Creek, and I got this phone call, and she said, Eric's been into an accident, but it's about time that he would like to see family. So I didn't think it was very serious. So I just left everything on my desk and went over to the hospital, was just 2-minute walk away. And when I went in there was an ambulance driver there who knew me because I had immunized her children. And she said to me, it's iffy. So then I thought, oh, because I wasn't expecting that. And they right away ushered me into a quiet room. And I couldn't even see Eric at all because they were working on him. But the amazing thing is there was a Bible in that quiet room. And I just opened it up and my eyes just hit this verse that says, death, where is your sting? In 1 Corinthians 15, and that we have victory over death. And wow, that was just so amazing that I just, saw that verse. That was from the Lord. Yeah.
So, then what happened?
And then I didn't really hear much for hours, for quite a few hours. It was quite difficult. My pastor came and he he was really good. He hugged me and yeah. And then Claudia was on a paper route, and then my mom, somebody notified my mom. I'm not sure. I can't remember if it was me, but she then knew about it. I must have told her about it. Yeah. And then Claudia went to my mom and she told her.
And Claudia is your
And
daughter?
yes, Claudia's my daughter. Yes. And then eventually my mom came up to the hospital too. And some friends of ours were willing to drive us to Edmonton because it turns out that they were shipping Eric out to Edmonton because we were living in Dawson Creek at the time, and Edmonton was the nearest bigger center. So that's what happened. My friends, they were our care group leaders, and they drove us down to Edmonton, and Eric went on the plane.
Okay, and was there a point in time when you had to make a decision about him?
Yes, it was 8 days. It was touch and go, quite difficult. And the staff were wonderful. They were really wonderful. And they tried everything. But after 8 days, and the strange thing was that I felt this too. On that day before I got the call from the hospital, I felt that this was the end, that I wasn't going to see Eric here on earth anymore. And then I got that phone call that really they had done everything and Eric was brain dead and there was no point really in keeping the life supports on. So thankfully, my ex-husband was there and he also agreed. So I'm glad that we all agreed, and my mom and Claudia, we all agreed that it was better to let Eric go. It was very difficult, but we knew that he would, the Eric that we knew, the vibrant Eric, he was a whirlwind. We wouldn't, that was gone. So it was best to let him go.
I can imagine how difficult that must be. I can't even imagine, actually. So, how did this affect your faith? Did it at all?
Not really, because I was already quite strong in my faith at that point. And I remember thinking, we always say, we have faith and that we are Christian, but then we also, when the test comes, we've got to keep trusting. So that's what I was thinking. Like, there's no point, saying I'm a Christian, and then when the crunch comes, then just to, lose your faith. So that I was really aware of that.
Yeah. Now you had a daughter as well, Claudia, and how did she handle the news of her brother dying? Did it affect her relationship with God at all?
Not as far as her relationship with God. Like, it really did affect her. She was very, very sad, and she felt quite guilty because, brother and sister, they fought quite a bit, and she sometimes had said some nasty things to him, and she felt really bad about that. And what helped her was writing letters. A counselor had suggested that, writing letters to Eric, and that's what she did. And she had a dream of seeing Eric in heaven.
Oh,
And
wow.
he gave her, yeah, that was wonderful. He gave her a big hug. So this really helped her. But as far as her faith, no, she, really drew closer to God, I would say, even.
Right.
Yeah.
Now she was younger than Eric when Eric died,
Yeah,
right? And
exactly.
so fast forward a few years, right? So, and then something horrible happens to Claudia. Maybe tell us about that. So there was another tragic accident in your family. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about that?
Yes. Well, what happened was that I was at Bible seminary in Briarcrest, and we found out about this mission in northern Manitoba, Thompson Continental Mission. And I really felt called to work with First Nations people. And I found out that they had a summer camp and were looking for volunteers. So Claudia and I felt that this would be really good to test out whether this mission was the right place to go to. So we applied to work there, and Claudia was going to be a junior counselor, and I was camp nurse and kitchen help and wherever needed. And so that's what we did, and we just loved it there. And towards the end, we had about 1 week left, I think, um, that we wanted to see these waterfalls. So it was a day off, and we went with a few staff members to these waterfalls, and we just were so excited because it was just so beautiful. And um, Claudia went with a couple of girls onto this. Well, they approached the waterfalls like a big cliff, a big rock there, and Claudia stepped out onto the rock. The other girls didn't, but she did it, and there was some water that had splashed up onto the rock, and she lost her footing and fell into the waterfalls.
So you were there, you were present, but a little, okay.
I was I was present, but I didn't see her fall in, thank goodness. But I heard something. Claudia fell into the waterfall. And I just thought, oh, Lord, how am I going to go through this a second time? That was my first thought. I thought, how can that be? Like, I was just, oh, I couldn't believe it. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, this victim's assistance person came, and the police came, and she was really good from victim's assistance. She was so caring and wonderful, really. And they had a helicopter come and everything.
So how old was Claudia when this happened?
16. They didn't actually find her right away. Like they didn't find her with the helicopter. It took 3 days. They found her with a boat with ropes and weights on the ropes. And that's how they found her. Yeah, it took 3 days. She
Oh
was
my
16.
gosh.
Yeah, it was 3 horrible days. Yeah, it was really awful. I remember just wanting to scream, even when we were driving from the waterfalls on the first night there back to Thompson. I just wanted to scream. Oh, awful.
You poor woman. I can't even imagine how anyone could endure what you've been through. Honestly, I mean, you'd have thoughts of like, is God punishing me? Like, what's going on? And I'm sure you felt that way too at times.
Well, I just couldn't quite understand it. But I didn't really think of punishment so much. I don't remember thinking that. But I
Right.
just, yeah, I was puzzled. I was very puzzled why this would happen again. And yeah.
That's awful. So you've had to endure this horrible grieving process. How long does the grieving process take? Does it ever really stop? Does hope and joy return at some point?
Well, in my the intensity of the grief gets much less. And I remember there was a friend who called me faithfully every day for the first year approximately, and that was so helpful. Oh my, she was over in BC and I was in Saskatchewan going to Bible school, and I just looked forward to that call. And I remember after 7 months telling her, now I can imagine a life without Claudia. That was a real turning point.
Wow.
That
Why don't you tell us really quickly about your book? I understand you had some friends who were instrumental in your writing this.
Yes, well, actually, Claudia had left quite a detailed diary, and they both really thought that diary just was very memorable, and they encouraged me to write a book. And one of them, Sheila Webster, she was my classmate in seminary, and she was really helpful too in finding the title and just different tips that she gave me. And then Ruth Cherniak Smith, she's a writer, and she helped me a lot. And she wrote the introduction. She did an excellent job introduction of the book, and just helped connect the diary entries together. She wrote connections there. Really did a wonderful job. So I'm very very thankful for that. Yeah.
Okay, and this helped you through your own grieving process, right? And you're hoping now that it can help others.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And
So,
yeah.
what advice, Bridget, would you have for someone who is currently grieving the loss of a loved one?
Well, I would say don't try to skip the grieving process, which I tried to do with my son. It just doesn't work. It's very important to take time to grieve. Really, yeah, you can't skip that. It's important to talk about the person who's died, to look at pictures. We had videos of the funeral services, which really helped us. And yeah, that helped us just looking at them. It was just and the comments that people had made. It was just encouraging, or looking at some of the cards that were sent, and also it helps to reach out. A few months after Eric died, we contacted this orphanage that we had heard about from our church in Mexico. And we made plans to go there. And we had a year of preparing and uh, learning Spanish and everything. And that helped us so much. I think, reaching out to others is very, very helpful.
Right. So basically, it's a dark valley that you have to go through. You can't avoid it. And then to start looking outwards beyond yourself to others. Well, Bridget, thank you so much for sharing this tragic story with us. And you are the author of Goodbyes Are Always Hard. Where can people find your book? Where is it available?
Yeah, we're just in the process of starting a website, and it'll be called goodbyesarealwayshard.com. It's already registered, and it's all small letters and one word. So, and right now I still have a few hard copies, and also if they email me at bkloost@gmail.com, I could also send digital copies.
Okay, yes, because we were talking before and you were saying your goal here isn't to make money on the book necessarily. It was all about your grieving process, trying to go through that, and now hopefully it can help others do the same.
That's right. That's the main thing, to help others. Yeah.
Well, Brigitte, thank you so much for being with us today. It was a pleasure to speak with you. God bless you.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and God bless you too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'm Jeanette Roche on behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News. Thanks for watching.